Right, just a couple of questions. The first thing is purchasing lights like from overseas, and that how do people purchase their lights, or is there any limit, sort of dollar-wise, or what's the best way to do it?
Yeah, I can answer a couple of things there, and there'll be others that add to it as well. I'll get the microphone. Take this one. Okay. Fair enough. I tend to buy from Ray Wu. The reason I buy from Ray is simply because people that have got errors with the shipments from him, he will do his most to actually fix that problem, quite often at his expense rather than at your expense. The quality of the gear is pretty damn good. He does take on board any feedback to say, hey, these aren't sealed, these have got issues, the cabling's not up to scratch or whatever. So yeah, you might get some reasonable quality. The next person is probably going to get better quality again. He also accepts PayPal. Yes, you do pay up front for the lights rather than using the AliExpress gear. The way I do it is I actually make a list on a spreadsheet and say, this is what I want. This is the number, this is the item, and a link to his webpage and his description, and then the cost. I quite often won't include the cost with, I'll email him and say, hey Ray, I've sent you an order. Can you please send me a PI, which is the invoice. He'll then send the invoice back depending on the amount that you actually spend. Sometimes you get it cheaper than what the website says. I limit it to about $800. The reason for that is once you start getting close to the $1,000 limit, and it's supposed to include shipping into Australia, you'll then get slug GST and some other duties. Unlike some people who have attempted to get sort of $5,000 worth of lights, and what was the value, 500 or 600 bucks or something like that. You do that, you're going to get, the guys in customs aren't stupid. Keep it around the 800 or 900 bucks, say under 1,000 including the shipping. You've got, if it's under 1,000, I ask Ray to give me an invoice for the proper amount. If it's just over $1,000, I'll say, hey, invoice me at 900 bucks. He will do that. I tend to go express shipping, only because I prefer to be able to track the parcel on the way across. Express can take, to me, in Lithgow, 3 days, 4 days. The standard shipping that he uses can be 3 weeks. And I don't know where it is at any one time.
So if you were going to spend money, if you were going to spend 1,800 bucks,
I'd split it over 2 orders.
Split it over 2 orders.
And I would split it so that when I receive the first order, I would then put the second order in. A couple of people have been stung that way and said, okay, I've ordered one order now. Ray hasn't got those particular, the balls that Ben's got up the back there. So he's got to order in 200 of those for you. He sees another order for you and goes, oh, I'll be nice, I'll halve the shipping, or I'll combine the shipping, and sends you an $1,800 order, gets through customs, and you get pinged for the dollars.
Has anyone had an issue with, say you want $1,800 worth of the one item, where you want to make sure they are the same item? Let's say 12-volt modules,
Yep.
You order 2 separate, they may be slightly different.
Okay, what I have done with one particular order with Ray, it was about $1,400 worth of stuff, and I specifically said I want half now. I want you to order all of them and now. I will pay you up front for all of them. I only want the first, I think it was 1,000 pixels now. When I receive those, I'll pay the shipping for the second lot. He has done that. But you've got to be aware it is not his native language. English is not his native language. Be specific in what you want. Be clear, but be concise too. Don't rattle off with a 3-page, I want this, I want that, please do this, please do that. He will not understand it. And quite often, I know we tend to deal with Ray. Ray is a company. There is a Ray. I've spoken to Ray on the phone once, but he employs about 6 people last time I heard. And quite often the people on the chat are not Ray. So you'll deal with a person that may be understanding of what you want, you may not. So be specific.
I find the best way is do a spreadsheet. So you do a spreadsheet, and you copy and paste the direct link to what you want, put that in there. If you can copy the picture, put that in there as well. Put the price, put all the details you can, so when Ray actually goes look at it, there's no way of him making a mistake.
And if you want something specific, like the lights on my Pixicles there were not standard off his page, I included a drawing to say exactly 150 millimetres between centre of the pixels. Right, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to get, some people said, oh, send me these particular items with 120 mil between them, and they're somewhere between 100 and 150. I did the drawing, I specified colours, I specified everything, and if you have a close look at those, all the wires are actually backwards. What you would think is the power injection is actually, or the colour for power injection on the first pixel is correct, but all the rest of them right the way through are swapped around. So I got what I asked for, but I didn't get what I expected.
The other thing too, for those who don't want to go and solder on their own plugs or cut their own strip or whatever, Ray will solder on plugs for you, and he will cut them to your specified length as well, and make it to your specified length. It'll take a bit longer to be delivered, and there'll be an extra little cost on board, but it's actually not bad value. And if I was doing it again, I would actually take up add the plugs on from Ray, because it actually adds to be quite good value. I think it only adds to be an extra $1.
It's a couple of dollars, yeah. The only catch is I've seen some people that have got two lots of, they were just 2801s, and the plugs are just totally wired differently. Now I know that I should have brought it down with me, I've actually got a page that I use that is exactly, it looks like Ben's gone to grab it. That's exactly the layout for every item of mine. So I know that this particular pin on my 4 wires is always data. This one's always voltage. This one, V+. So I can plug any one of my 5-volt pixel strings into any one of the outlets. It will always work. With Ray's, more than likely it's going to, but there may be a junior bloke come on or a new bloke coming on. Don't forget, Ray doesn't make all the lights. He will go out to other companies. They will supply him the lights. He doesn't always have them in stock, even though he says he does. One of the big things that I learned down in Melbourne a few years back was Bruce Tuppett's dad did a 5-minute talk, 10-minute talk on dealing with Chinese suppliers, because he deals with a lot of different suppliers. Be specific, do drawings, and also if they say, if you say to Ray, have you got this 5-volt power supply? He will say yes. He may not have it in stock, he may not even stock this particular one. He will say yes because he can probably get it for you.
Been all day.
Then a week or two later he'll say, no, I can't get that, but here's an equivalent.
That's the output.
So they want to deal with you now, but they want to deal with you in 3 months and 6 months' time. So he'll go out of his way to find what you want, even though he may not even stock it. And some companies over there don't even make items. They'll have pictures of items on their website. They don't even make that item. Until someone orders it, then they'll work out how to make that item.
All right. You mentioned with a question on the lights. You mentioned 2801 before, and I've heard dumb lights, smart lights. As someone that's going to purchase lights, what would be recommendations for to look at?
Honestly, it depends on what you want them for.
Okay.
I like pixels. A lot of guys are going pixels for everything.
The cost of pixels now, when you do a comparison and say, okay, dumb RGB will require a DC control. The dumb RGB will require a DC control, which is a cost. I mean, that's become cheaper now with some new alternatives. But example, these modules here, I think they're $14 for a string.
I think about 80 cents each.
Now, for a dumb string, it's $12. So what are you going to choose for $2 extra? Something that you can control every individual pixel, or something that is just common for the whole string? So, you know,
the catch with that is too, though, cost of controllers and everything
And
else.
channel
And
count.
programming,
And channel
sequencing time. So it's not just the
I'll show
cost.
in a minute.
I was going to say, if you look at
Good
my
thing,
display at my house, half of it is actually dumb RGB. It's not intelligent.
Yep.
And it's the way it's been put together. It's been put together in sections
bring
and
over
things like that. So I get chased across the house, and a lot of people, when they found out that it was actually half of it was dumb RGB. We were very surprised because I actually thought it was all pixels. But it's not, it's just the way it's been used. Right? And I'm sure if I did very slow chases across the house, you would see it. But I sequence in a way that it just all blends in and works seamlessly. So it sort of goes down to, but when I was doing it, when I first got all that stuff, the price between dumb and intelligent RGB was double,
Yeah.
more than double. So it made good sense for me to do that. Now, for me now, if I was starting from scratch today, I would actually seriously consider just mainly getting pixels, because in the end I'd say, well, all right, I might want to just use it as dumb now and just treat it as one string, and you can do that. Just treat it as a single string, because the controllers have the ability to group that whole string together as just 3 channels. So you can still treat it as a dumb string in a way, but later on, if you want to get more adventurous, you can, by paying a couple of dollars extra per string or whatever. So it goes down to what you really want. So for me, I would go down there if we were just going a lot more pixels nowadays. And if you didn't want to go and program all those pixels, then I'll just set it up in the controller. It's just been grouped as 3 channels.
And I tend to go a little bit the other way, in that if I've got an item that I know that there's no use being able to get pixel control, like individual level control, I'll use dumb on those.
Yep.
Because I know, like my Windows silhouettes, the old 240 volt silhouettes, grip the 240 volt off, I only want those as 3 channel items.
Yep.
So there's 50 LEDs. I'm not going to group those and actually have them as pixels. Number one, I don't want to outlay the extra cost, and there's no way I want that ability for that particular item. But again, if I think an item that I think, oh geez, a particular tree, I think it'd be nice to have pixel level control later, I've done that with a couple of items. So again, look at what you're actually trying to do with each individual one.
See, the other thing too people got to be aware is the more channels you add, the more load you have on the computer, the better hardware you have to have. You know, so you really, if you're going to use pixels, you should be using them for where you know they're going to be useful. Right? There's no use putting pixels in something that's never ever going to be pixels. So yeah, so my display is half dumb RGB. It goes down to how you mix things. So the way I've done is my roof tiles is done, but I've used my gutter as digital. So it gives the illusion when you look at it, because you're seeing the gutter as digital, your eyes perceive the others to be blending in with it. So it's really just working off an illusion. So there's plenty of ways to get around and do things and design your setup. You just got to work out what the best is. And in a lot of situations, the best now is going to be the pixels based on the cost, because you can buy a controller now for $70 and do 2,000 pixels build. So you know it's not costing you a great deal, but gives you a lot more ability if you need it.
Yeah, see, a lot of you guys aren't going to be looking at sort of, 15, 20, 30,000 lights, are you, at the moment?
My ultimate dream one day would be to have my house do sort of like what the Opera House does at the moment, the whole joint, and turn the whole joint into a Christmas tree, or have Santa appear up in the corner and fly down and land and take off,
That's a lot of pixels.
It is. That's a long way.
That's a pretty busy first year.
Yeah, no, that's a long way off that one. But that's sort of, it's something different.
Well, see, that's the other thing that's sort of been getting touched in our hobby, and that's projection.
Yeah.
So that's using a different style altogether, and that's using projection onto a surface. Projection.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic.
Is a very new concept. It's a really good concept to use, but the problem is it's not going to work for everyone. I can't use projection on my house because of the shape of my house. Too many shadows, not enough of all the walls at different locations and things like that.
You just need more projectors there.
Yeah, I worked it out. I need 4 projectors, $5,000 each.
Yeah, but every year you just walk out and go one.
So if you had a house that was fairly flat faced, single story, easy to do. Easy to do.
Or do what people like Steve have done and have a projected
On a
item
section.
on a section,
Yeah,
either from inside or
I had
ambient as well. So.
rear projection TV in the garage.
Yeah.
Last week.
And have that as an item.
Now, to continue on, I suppose the next thing is about the controllers and power supplies. As I said, currently at the moment I've got 2 LOR controllers, 240 volt, but I'm looking to go towards pixels and dumb lines and stuff. What controllers and what power supplies, you know, would be most popular or you know, I suppose the best would be the word, or you know, most common.
When we're talking about, we'll start with power supplies. I should have bought one of the power supplies by itself from Ray Wood to compare. When you pick this this power supply up and you compare it in hand to a Ray Wood power supply, straight away you say, okay, there's some quality in this one, right? And you pay for this one. This is much more efficient. This is 95% efficient, I think, where the Ray Wood ones would be lucky to be 80% efficient. If you go down the Ray Wood path with their power supplies, always carry a spare, because we've witnessed them blowing up before. Meanwhile, will cost you 3 or 4 times. This one here is about $100. You can get it for $20 from Ray Wood for a cheaper Ray Wood. So there's a bit of difference in price.
What's that one? That's what, 320 watts?
That's 320 watts.
I would run that one, and I've got a couple of Moon wells. I'd run that one at 320 watts.
Yep.
All day, all night, and not blink. I would not do that with a 350 watt Ray Wood. 75–80% would be my maximum, and I wouldn't keep it there for very long.
The other thing I've done too is I've got Ray Wood power supplies and I've got Meanwells. And what I've used the Meanwells is I've used the Meanwells where I've got my controller and my power supply very close together, because the Ray Wood power supplies let off a lot of interference, where these don't. These are much cleaner filtered power supplies. So it goes down to, okay, either quality or cost. Yep. And that's with everything. So the quality or cost. So if you're going to just go for cost, you make sure that you have a backup plan and have a spare. If you're going to go for quality, still maybe even have just a cheap backup. Always good to have a contingency plan and have something back up. But these things are designed to run day and night in all conditions.
So what's the brand?
This is a Meanwell. Yep. So most industry will use these. Most businesses that do commercial installations will use these.
How much more?
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
You buy them through Meanwell Australia, and they're about $320. Sorry, $120. Sorry. You go to Malaysia and they deliver to the front door about 77.
That's pretty good.
If you buy 10 at a time.
So even buy 10, that's not too bad if you go in with a bit of a group buy.
Yeah.
So what was the next part of the question?
With controllers, what? Because I've seen the is it JS
Yep.
ones and that.
All right, now with controllers, there's a range of controllers. I mean, all the guys here use the J1 Sys controllers. What have we got here? Is this the new P12S? What's that? Oh, Pix. Yeah, okay, Pix88. All right. So this is a J1 Sys control. This controls pixels. So it has power, it has data, and it has a clock. Clock we don't use for 2801, that's more a 2801 or 6803, some of the older chips. All the newer chips that we use only have the data. The clock is actually within the data wire. Yeah. So basically, this will only run intelligent lighting. So it will only run stuff that has a chip. Now, to confuse things a bit more, we've now got the new range of the 2812s, all right? Which is exactly the same as the 2811, works with the same kind of language and everything like that. But what it is it's actually those chips embedded inside the LED. So you don't even see the chips anymore. All right? So, but that's what the pixel controllers use. Now, who won the 2811 DC controller? Bring it out. That's right. It's buried. Now this is something new. So what this will do is this is a DC that will run dumb control, dumb strip. Right? Now, traditionally, dumb strip is run through DC control, through a DMX controller converted to DMX. Right? So what I have is what I call a DR4. So it converts the E1.31 language to DMX. So then my DMX dumb controllers can work off that. Right? So it's a separate network to my pixels, in a way. Because E1.31 is basically DMX, but it's over Ethernet. Alright? So it's using a different kind of language, but even though it's based off DMX, it's basically DMX package to run off an Ethernet. Right, where DMX by itself will run off one universe, one output. So what this does...
27 channel one.
Yep, so that's the standard 27 channel controller. So what this does, this is 15 channels. This now allows you to hook to that pixel controller, alright? So you can just have your normal pixels running out of that, but you can then hook this up and run your dumb stuff as well. Because now this takes the 2811 data in and treats and then spits out these as each individual channel. So each three of these is considered a pixel in the 2811 data. So each one of these is just considered as one of
So
those.
that's
lights
basically
in there.
replacing 5 pixels.
Yep, so that's basically looked at in the system as being 5 pixels. So then you can control 5 dumb RGB lights with this controller anywhere along your line. So you could have a run of your 281 strip, put this in between, then run another line of 2811 strip. So, example for your gutter line on your house. There might be a reason why you want to have some dumb RGB somewhere. And instead of having to run an extra data cable from where you come through, extra power and all this, you can run this, put it in the middle, put another power supply to this, and control dumb lights. So great advantage of that. So that's a new controller, and that's only just come out, and it's the first one that's been out in the hobby.
There is a couple of others that have done those, but they're not really available easily for us, whereas that one is.
Yeah, they've been well known. Then.
Yeah, no, Ray did sell one for a while and it worked really well. I've got 2 or 3 of them at
okay.
home. But they're only 6 output,
Yep.
not 15.
Okay.
So they're only two pixels.
There is
So-
a 2801 because that coming out as well.
So that's
Yeah, the one that I've got is 2811, 2801. You can set it up, I think it's
so
3
with
different things you
dumb
can set it up
with
as.
dumb RGB, you don't have to chip.
The price is
So-
gone. Anyone take it?
Look at it. Look at dumb RGB and smart RGB. Look at dumb RGB. The chip is here. It's external to lights, and will control the whole thing. Look at intelligent RGB is saying the chip is with the LED.
So it's a matter of sitting down with a picture of the house and where you want to go with what, and then once you establish that, then you can start looking at.
Yep. You've got to work out what you want to do first. You work out what you want to achieve first. Then you look at what will suit what you want to achieve best first. And once you've done that, you then can start implementing that plan. But there's no use just throwing things at your house if it doesn't suit. You know, there's no use putting a bunch of strings on somewhere when strips might work better. Example for me, I prefer strips as an outline. Others prefer strings. The reason why I prefer a strip for an outline is because I like to use floods as well, and strip gives light one way. It doesn't give light back. You want all your light to go one way on an outline. The beauty about this is because all your light's going one way, it's not washing back much on your house. So what you do is you add floodlights back onto your house. This then gives you a new ability. All right? It gives you the ability to control wash back onto your house because your standard lights aren't washing back on the house. So you can then do effects like your outline can be one colour, but your wash can be another colour on your house. Or you can just use your outline and not use wash. Or you can use your wash and not your outline. So what by doing that gives you a whole new bunch of controllability, as opposed to if you just used strings, which will then give wash back onto the house and things like that. But if you use strip, it's not giving wash in the house, but you use floods to then control your wash. It gives you that new level of control. That's my view, personal view, but others prefer strings, and that's their choice. But that's why I like to use
So the strips encased?
the strips encased, yes. So the strips I find the strips more reliable when it comes to weather preference because as I earlier mentioned, you can have a length of strip, it's covered, it's only the ends you've got to worry about water getting in. With pixels, you've got to worry about every individual pixel that water can get potentially.
So strip can be flexible as well?
It's flexible bent wise like that.
Oh, not bent wise, but say you could roll it up or...
Yes, you can roll it. You can roll her up and, you know, go around.
I suppose that'd be flexible, those ones that were on over there?
Yeah,
Yep.
you just can't flex it,
Really tight.
so you can't flex it the other way. So show them an example here.
Yeah, that
That's
rolls
rolled up.
with the lights out.
Yeah, but it can't bend.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fine, that's fine, yeah. No, I just think for packing up and stuff like that. So,
What you'll find is, it's actually not, strip can be quite delicate. It is actually better, if you're doing it for your gutters,
yep,
you're better off using things like conduit, mounting the conduit, putting some plugs on it.
yep.
It then becomes easily stored and put up, pulled down. My whole display took less than a day to pull down because it's just all plug in and it stacks in all together. As I show with this strip here, it's on conduit. It protects the strip from being stepped on, crimped, or bent, or whatever. And when I store it away, it just stores all stacks in a nice little pile against the wall.
All right. No, I think that's about all I needed to, questions I had.
Is that all?
Anybody else?
You obviously
Anyone else with a question?
mine hangs from the ceiling. Three bay
Yeah, that
garages.
really worked well.
I suppose the only question I have is, for a mega tree, I see, Dave, you've used the flat pixel.
Yep.
For a mega tree, any good?
Okay. I'm redoing my mega tree. Oh, I'll put this on. I've got this one. A couple of ways of thinking for a mega tree. Number one is to use a ball item like this, so that it tends to, so that it tends to be a big item. They don't swing around in the wind. The only catch is, I'll give you that. The only catch is you can't pull on them.
Yeah.
So what I've got for my mega tree is I actually have a rope from the bottom to the top. The bottom is actually not connected directly to the ground. It's a piece of shock cord, about a foot and a half long, and that actually gives me a little bit of movement. What I've got is these style pixels. I'm going to undo them.
Yeah, that's right.
On that rope, this year, I'm modifying mine. Could you imagine what they look like after a few weeks? They're all pointing in different directions now, aren't they?
Yep.
It looks a little bit daggy. What I've got is that rope, and I'm actually cable tying them like that. So every pixel is vertical. That means that the most they're going to be is about a pixel width away out of dead straight.
Yep.
It looks a heck of a lot better. Ben's seen around my windows, which is what I did last year.
Awesome, Dave.
Like the year before, they looked really daggy. There was dumb LEDs pointing everywhere. By actually having them on rope, they look like a nice, even, straight line. They almost look as good as strip like that.
From a distance, you wouldn't even know.
You wouldn't pick it. You really wouldn't
But
pick it.
you know what? As far as cost per LED, it's actually far cheaper to buy a strip than
It is, but I've already got the gear.
No,
But I do it.
I'm
Yes.
just explaining that to others.
If you're going to do it now, maybe strip is the way to go if you can actually do it. Put it on conduit or put it on something like that. Personally, I don't like strip in. The only reason is if it turns around, you don't see a thing.
Yep.
If these turn around, you do see, because they tend to light the body up a reasonable amount. And even if they're like that, you're going to see it, like for you there, you're still going to see a light point.
Strip is directional.
Very much. Ideal for outlining a house, ideal for something that doesn't turn around. For Megatree, I'm using these.
And that's why I use strip for a 2D Megatree, because it's only made to be looked from one spot. But if I was doing for example, this is about the only place I've actually used these pixels. Because it's a 3D element, and I want it to set all the way around. So I didn't use strip, I used pixels for that. And if I'd created a big 3D Megatree, again, I would have used pixels for that, not strip. But because I created a flat tree, it's only designed to be looked at it'd be a 2D and looked from one angle. Strip was by far the best choice for that because, for one, it gives the best value as far as LED per dollar, and it's better ability for weatherproofing, so I don't have to worry about the ends, and less voltage drop issues.
Yeah, and the reason I wouldn't use that style is simply because, again, if I'm putting it onto a rope or something similar, from behind, you can't see a damn thing.
Yeah.
So That is ideal for where I'm using it for, because again, very much like your strip, it points straight out. They're actually icicles on the front of the house. They will never be seen from the side or behind. They'll only ever be seen pretty much from about 45 degrees, that's it.
Thank you.
So what ones do you use? 2811s or 2801s?
I don't like 2811s, only because I got some of the early ones and there was timing issues. They've certainly fixed that up now. The 2811s now I'd have no problem buying. Everything of mine is 2801s. I will continue to get 2801s. Only just because I'd rather have spares of everything, and I've got plenty of spares. Going to certain new items like the balls that Sven's got up here, they're 2811s, I will get them in 2811s. I won't ask for them to be 2801s or anything like that. So if they come in 2811s, I've got no problem using them nowadays. But the early ones I had a bit of an issue with. And that may well have been the software in the, or firmware in the various controllers too.
Right.
See you, John.